I came to work on a Monday morning. They were now to begin the implementation of this redundancy. And the first person that I saw his name on the board that had been asked to leave the company was that personnel manager who was coordinating affairs. Steve Akimbala was his name. He was the first victim. I said, what's happening? Steve was such a nice guy. They said, well, part of the organization, they are merging two divisions. The pharmaceutical division and the animal health division. We're going to be merged. And so one director will not have job. And it's not easy to send directors away from companies. So they were not looking for where to place the director, and they found they could place him in HR, in human resource. And so they yanked out the manager, Steve, and took him out. And he left. That day, I almost wept. First is that I was weeping for Steve and I was weeping for myself. I said, it could have been me. And I made up my mind that, well, this kind of thing, I will not let it happen to me. And I went home and I told my wife that I'm going to start a business. And that if this situation that happened to Steve happens to me, I will leave Pfizer and go to some place and complete the day's work and then come home. That was 84, and I got a friend of mine, Austin Nana, you remember him? And we set up a pharmaceutical company called Sega Limited. That was my first attempt at entrepreneurship. And between 1984 and today, I have been involved in setting up at least 25 companies, at least. Some of them didn't succeed, some had succeeded. Yes, Nimet and Pfizer were great opportunities for me to train in management and running business, but I have been involved in taking businesses from scratch, many. I said at least 25. If you count it, it will be much more than that. So I'm going to be speaking largely from experience I have gathered from starting business. And I would like to start this story from just what I have just said now. Please move on. I say the end of the beginning. Sooner or later, the present career will come to an end, either by sack or dismissal from work. And this sack or dismissal can be because of performance, poor performance, or politics. I'm sure we know what goes on in organizations. Move on. Or it can be redundancy, like the one Steve, I just spoke to you about. Either there's economic situation like it was in Nigeria then, or business restructuring. Companies decide to restructure, either because there's acquisition, merger, whatever, to increase profitability, they can restructure, and they just find your division, your department will no longer be required. Of course, people are retired. That's what everybody prays for. Either statutory requirement or compulsory or voluntary. Either way, a career will come to an end. So there are some truths we have to keep in mind. One is that you will not always be an employee. There is no such thing as a life employee. None. It doesn't exist. Someday it will come to an end. One of those ways I have shown earlier on. And it does not depend on how much you earn, but everything with how you utilize what you earn. You can earn all the money and still be poor. You can earn all the money and still be unable to look after yourself after a while. It is how you utilize what you earn that determines how you're able to meet the demands of the future. The third, actually the three, is that everyone is dispensable. Hello? Everyone is what? Dispensable. The story of Steve showed me that everybody was dispensable. Because if I was to vote for the best manager I had met, I would have voted for Steve. And since then, I've seen more things happen, including myself as CEO, taking actions that, some people that you thought were acting as if without them the company would not exist. but the company will exist. You know, so we need to understand that as we pursue our career. So do your best while on the job, and always keep your eyes on yourself and what is best for you. You know, I mean, I have seen things in life, you know. Let me just digress. In 1997, when Pfizer wanted to divest from the country, and I was CEO, I've been CEO since 1993, and they asked me to lead a management board. I was so naive to think that, you know, because Pfizer was the one that talked about the management board, it was not us that asked. And then when they were doing the agreements, we didn't bother. We just say, go ahead and do the agreements, you know. We thought it was like a father-son relationship. But I want to tell you that if you saw the type of agreements they wrote, they wanted to kill us, strangulate us. It's unbelievable. The day I took that agreement to New York, after we had tried to operate the agreement, and it was difficult because they wrote an agreement that there was something they would hold against you. Today, they say you're not buying the products. When you start buying, they say you're not selling. When you start selling, they say you're not paying. So there must be somewhere that they are going to hold you. When somebody, I mean, take example, a customer is owing you, and you refuse to sell your product, then they walk into that place and they don't find the product. They come at you that you have failed the agreement. I say no, but the man is owing me. They say it's not their business. Now, the point I'm making here is that the reality of the situation in the corporate world is that you must look for what is best for yourself. Don't trust nobody is there to look for your best. None. Don't mind all the stories and all the fancy schemes. None. As long as you're producing milk, you're okay. But any day you stop producing milk, or there's a decrease in the milk that you produce, then they just discard you. And they discard you like a rag. Fortunately. But that's it. You will not always find comfort on your job, so you must be the driver of the car of your destiny. You have to be. Nobody else will do it for you. Don't expect anybody to make any good plans for you. You make your own plans. And with God, they come to full realization. Job security is a myth. You know, can only be created by an individual who has found a need in society and has continued to provide solutions which is being exchanged commensurate with value being provided. This is the only time you have a job security. When you have found an opportunity to satisfy a need on a continuous basis, that's when you have a job security. There are two major corporate perks, and I'm happy that General Manager of Chevron is here, and he will agree with me. These are the things that keep people longer than they would like to stay. One is office perks. You know, those transient privileges that disappear also swiftly. They do. I mean, I've been retired since 2011. That's about 3 years. And if you know that I was CEO for 18 years, then you can imagine the transition from being a CEO of 18 years, where you have your life literally run by the company, and then where you are now running your own life. Now, if you are not prepared, you can die. You can create such shock that you have difficulty. But I knew that the day will come, and I was physically, mentally, spiritually prepared. And what it was that I walked out of the job, I left the job voluntarily. I decided it was time to go. And that is easier to deal with than when you are hurried out. The other is the prison of fear. If we fear the unknown, but if we transform our fear to strength, we transform the world. You know, I mean, if you think you are beaten, let me tell you that you are ready. You are. If you think you dare not, you better don't. Move on. If you like to win, but you think it can't, it's almost certain that you won't. If you think you lose, you have lost. For out of the word, you find. Success begins with a fellow's will, and it's all the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. If you have to think high to rise, then you have got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life battles don't always go to the stronger or faster men, but soon or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Those are nuggets of wisdom. Now, the key to successful transition from paid employment to an entrepreneurial life is preparation. Preparation. And the first is the imperative of self-awareness. You must have a better understanding of ourselves. It's only then that we're empowered to make changes and build on areas of strength. The Bible says, man, know thyself. So for success in business, as it is in many other things, the first is to come to terms with who you are. Understand who you are. Move on. You must understand your preferred learning styles, your aptitude for careers or specific fields, your natural academic abilities, whether you are figure inclined or you are word inclined, your personality traits. Are you introvert, extrovert, you sensitive, judgmental? Because this will affect the kind of work and the kind of careers and the kind of businesses you can get into. I mean, if you see somebody that is very shy, then who doesn't like to meet people, you can't get him into a sales job. Or he can't even get into a sales job selling anything. Your religious beliefs are critical. Your political viewpoints, and importantly, your values. What kind of values do you respect or do you subscribe to? Because there are a couple of things which, if you have some value systems, some businesses you can't get into. I mean, I know I was talking with my brother today, and we're talking about politics. You know, especially in Nigeria. I know, I mean, here, maybe this is not the same. But in Nigerian politics, you must have some values. You must decide that there are certain lines that you must not cross. Otherwise, you lose your focus. Then, steps to self-assessment is that we're in the business of knowing yourself. Because it's critical, so you don't embark on a journey you mightn't be able to complete. You must list your strengths, your weaknesses, and your passions. What do you love to do at your free time? What gets you excited? What would you like to be in charge of? What would you like to do even without being paid? You know, these are the kind of things that open you up to the area of your natural inclination, where you have a leading and where, if you took advantage, I remember that once when we were young, we would rather play football than eat food. I mean, if they call you, come and eat, you refuse. Now, people are playing football and they're getting paid. Now, if it was your life fun, like it was, then you are in the best business you can do. Any business that you love doing, and then you get people to pay you for doing that sort of job, then you've hit the bull's eye. So what kind of heroes do you have or admire? What are your skills and competencies? Which of your skills are transferable? What competence will require in a new endeavor? These are things that you need to evaluate yourself to decide where to pitch your tent. Because my experience, as I said, I've founded more than 25 companies. Some have failed. And part of the reason some of them have failed is lack of this type of exercise. Especially at the earlier times I was getting to my entrepreneurial pursuits. Now, what worker type are you? Again, that opens you up to the type of things you'll be looking at. Are you artistic? In which case, you could be in the area of creating things. Are you conventional? Are you enterprising? Are you investigative? Are you a realistic person? Are you social? Do you have a social inclination? There are people who have such high level of empathy and able to have compassion. That can also determine the type of work you can do or the type of business you can invest. Then the other thing you need to do is to reassess your networks. Because when you're about to go into business, you need your network. Okay? Yeah. There's a quotation here. I don't know who said it now. They say the truth in life is that when you travel alone, you travel faster. But when you travel with people, you travel further. When you travel in groups, you travel further. When you're alone, you travel fastest, but you may not go too far. So why network? Requirement for professional competency at all levels is also a tool for intelligence gathering. Yeah, it's also required to manage organization culture change. It's also a critical stride for business development. It is part of preparation for the rainy day. You need network for new jobs, career advancement, relevance, and personal visibility. And networks are in all forms. I mean, this is a network, all of us here now, this church and this seminar. If by the time we're leaving here, everybody has each other's phone number or email, we have formed a network. And we can do business. If you have an idea to sell, this could be your first contact group before you proceed to other. And if you have this kind of groups in that form, you've already created a market. Because as we shall show, when we're talking about growing a business, the whole essence of growing a business is just reduced to creating customers. If you start business today, you have one customer, one. That's at your lowest level of performance. The next day, you get a second customer. The day after, you get a third one, a fourth one, and you're building up your customer. As you're building up your customer number, you're building up your business. And if you understand how not only to create new customers, but also keep the existing one, your business will continue to expand ad infinitum. That's the whole focus of business. Growth is create one customer a day. Add one new customer to your list, and your business will grow. You suddenly find that one room can no longer accommodate you, look for a second room. One store can no longer take you, look for a third customer and third room. That's the way business grows. It's a deliberate act, but it's the solution of it. So I reassess your knowledge capital. I say in an economy where the only certainty is uncertainty, the one source of lasting competitive advantage for individuals and organizations is knowledge. Knowledge is critical. It creates both comparative and competitive advantage. And it's important in launching out to new businesses and new endeavors. Of course, you can get information from different sources, books, internet, social media, long and short distance learning programs, and mentorship. Unfortunately, this is one area people don't use enough. And it could be the reason why people don't succeed sufficiently, especially with new businesses. And so in our empowerment and entrepreneurship teaching, we're beginning to focus a lot on mentorship. Because there's not like somebody guiding you, somebody who has passed through a particular circumstance, particular business, has an experience. What we now suggest is, no matter what feasibility you've done, no matter what else you've done, go and do some bits, if you call it apprenticeship. Attach yourself to somebody and let him guide you for a while. You might find that he will enable you overstep some of the challenges that he also faced. Now, those are what I call preambles to come into our main subject, which is starting and growing your own business. Now, I want to build what I call on the right foundation, because, you see, the Lord, God, is a God of purpose. Everything that the Lord created, He created for a reason. Everything that He has us to do, there is also what? A reason. And I have come to realize that the moment you fail to grab the reason why God wants you to do anything, then you might run into difficulties. Why do we have to work? Why do we have to do business? The Bible says it. He said, I have showed you all things, how that so laboring you might support the weak, and to remember the words of the Lord Jesus, as he said, it is more blessed to give than to what? So, why are we going to work? Why do we have to do business? Two things here. First is to support who? The weak. To support the weak. To be able to give to him that needed. Naturally, people think the reason they want to work is to take care of themselves. Is to be able to look after themselves. But that is implied. The whole essence of work, to labor, is so that you can help other people. You can give to the needy. You can be supportive to those who are unable. So we must have that in our mind as we invest in our businesses. That it is not just about us. That it's about showing love. It's about helping people. I remember after that divestment that I spoke about in Nimet, and at one point the business ran into trouble, difficulties. And some of my friends came and said, Sam, look, you are carrying too many people. You have too many people in this your company. You better send them away. And I sat down and I read the arithmetic. I said, yes, I could send some people away here. But what will it add to my bottom line? Not much. However, if I send those people away, it will cause a lot of social problem for them. Because for every person you're employing, he has at least 4 or 5 people he's looking after. And so I refused. I refused to send people away just to save a little money and cause more misery. Because when you trace somebody out of work, you create such social dislocation that it's not going to affect him alone. It's going to affect a lot more people. So, whereas we believe that business is not charity, but if you're a Christian, then you must have a different perspective of business as against those other people in the world. They might aim to maximize profit. For Christians, we optimize profit. We don't maximize anything. We optimize our profits and our benefits. Here's again what the Lord says. He says, let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needed. That's another need, giving to him that needed. This is nice in Ephesians 4:28. I want you to understand this fundamental because it can be the difference between just success and good success. It might just be the difference between incremental success and marginal success. It is what is the overriding desire. Are you wishing that this business should grow so that I can employ more people? I can make more people, rich. I want this business to grow so that I can play a greater role in supporting the work of God, in helping to build the church. I want this business to grow so that I can, there are too many widows around town or too many orphans. I want to offer scholarship. That should be part of your business planning. It's not something you want to do after you have made all the money and you're not looking for how to save on your tax. Yeah, that's not to remember charity. How to now file and rather than give the money to government, let's give it. That is not it. Start from the beginning and make it part of your business plan. I'm going to do this as this business grows. As I'm planning for my staff, planning for my family, I am thinking of what to do to improve the society and the community to which we belong. It is the word of God. And I thought I should make that point because often people don't understand that. That should be a major reason why you want your business to grow, not just to buy more houses or build more or buy more cars. Move on. Now, no, just go back a bit. The Bible says, in the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thy hand, for thou knowest not whither shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Now, this is the Bible passage I use in teaching multiple streams of income. And I think that it makes sense. People must be able to have opportunities for multiple streams of income. Many people who have come to grief are people who depended on one source of income, and if that source suddenly closed, like you are in employment and they send you away, or there's economic downturn, or whatever, or retrenchment, then you see somebody going from grace to grass, sudden loss of height, and that has caused a lot of problems. So when you have opportunity, you make other investments. Put your money to work for you, even if it is putting it in stocks and shares, or even in fixed deposits. All those are investments, which can yield you some income. Now let us go through the process of starting business and growing a business. Whether it's a new business or an expansion of an existing one, we're just looking at how do we create opportunity to do business. Now, the first and important thing which we need as entrepreneurs is to develop what I call a new mindset. The entrepreneurial mindset. The entrepreneurial mindset is a mindset that keeps you asking 3 questions as often as you like to ask. And answers to those 3 questions will then create the opportunity for you to do business. First question is there a need that needs to be satisfied? As we're in this church, as we're in the community, wherever you are, is there a need that you can provide satisfaction for? That's the entrepreneurial question. The second is there a problem that I can help solve? And third one is there a value that I can create? Now, my experience is that if you have this mindset, you are likely going to develop a lot of opportunities for income streams. Because it is in asking those questions that you receive answers and revelation. I believe that as we're here now, if I asked, is there anybody that has a need that it needs to be filled? Can I get an answer? Do anybody here who has a need in one's field? This person. That need. Okay. Is there anybody who has a problem in one's solved? Need and problem are not exactly the same. You have some problems that you need solved in your home, your church, your office. Okay? Now, if I offer to solve those problems or fill those needs, will you be willing to pay? Yes? Of course. Yeah. So what it means is that if I have 10 people here who have problems to solve or needs to be filled, I immediately have 10 business opportunities. Yes, I set up a mega security providing business. It is very simple to appreciate what we're saying, and that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. When I retired from NIMET in 2011, I thought I was going to stay completely out of new investments and probably watch and pray over the ones I have made. But if you have the entrepreneurial mindset as I have, and I've practiced over years, it's difficult to see a business opportunity and close your eyes. It's like walking away from something good. In fact, sometimes it's not just because of the money. It is because of the value. Now, when we talk about value, that's the third component. Please go back. Creating value. Creating value is this. Is that each time you look at a thing, you're asking, how do I increase the value content of this thing? I used to give an example that if you went into the bush and you saw a log of a tree standing, if you ask somebody to pay for that tree, how much will he pay? Not much. But if you cut the tree, if you fell it, and it's lying, you just take away all the leaves, and it's lying as a log of wood, and you want somebody to buy it, are you more likely to get a buyer?
Yes.
It has become a log.
Yes.
Why are people willing to pay? You've added value. The process of cutting and trimming and all that is value addition. Now, if you take that log of wood to town and send it to the sawmill, I don't know what they call them here, and they saw this wood into planks, is it going to attract more value?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you take those planks to a furniture maker or somebody who builds roof rafts, it's going to cost more money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When he makes furniture with it, chairs and all that, it's costing money. Now, that whole process of taking a standing tree or a log of wood to when it comes out as furniture is called the process of what? Value addition. Value addition. And therefore, if you have a mindset that when you come into any environment, you are looking at how you create value, you're going to see opportunities which others are not seeing.
Sure.
I was called to come and teach, speak at a retreat of Anglican priests somewhere in Delta State in Nigeria, what they call Abaroto, somewhere in Delta. Hebrew Center, an ecumenical center Hebrews built.
Yes.
So one bishop brought all his priests and invited me to come and speak. When it was time for me to speak, I walked up there and was waiting to enter, just standing out. But the speaker ahead of me was overrunning his time. I waited 5 minutes and I wasn't called in. And usually that is the maximum idle time I have, 5 minutes. My head swung into the entrepreneurial mode. It just happened that way. It just swung into. And I began to look around the compound. And I found they had beautiful buildings, but they were ugly. The paints were washed out. So I merely saw opportunity. So somebody was walking past and said, "Excuse me, please, who is in charge of the estates? Who is in charge of the buildings?" He said, "It's a venerable." I said, "Can you take me to the venerable?" So he took me to the venerable. And I said, "Mr. Venerable, you have a beautiful campus here, but the buildings are ugly. Why the paints are washed out?" He said, "Oh God, look, I've been telling them, I've written proposal. They say there's no money, there is no money." I said, "Okay, suppose I make you a proposal. How you can get this place repainted and then you pay on a gradual basis. Would that fly with you?" He said, "Okay, I'm interested." I said, "Okay, I know a company in Lagos called DM Mayer. DM Mayer is a paint maker. And I know they were running a promo with First Bank. And for institutions, things like, institutions, organizations. So what they would do is, DM Mayer will supply the paints to paint your premises or your building. and then First Bank will pay DM mayors, and then First Bank will give you 36 months to pay to them. I said, this is what I want to link you up with. He said, please, that he's interested, I should give him the address to DM mayor and all that. I said, I'm not going to give you the address, you're going to pass through me. So he said, okay, that he's ready to pass through me. So we're exchanging address, and I found they were not looking for me to come and speak. Yeah, the man that was ahead had finished, and they were now searching for me all over the place. And they found me where I was discussing business with venerable. But like when they were looking for Jesus Christ, his parents. And then I was arguing with some lawyers and teachers. So that's the way it is with me. And that is the way it can be with everybody. There are more opportunities to create value and do business than we have the businesses. And that's why I get worried when somebody says he has no work to do. You know, people keep saying I have no work to do. And I'm wondering what's the problem. I mean, because I have too much work to do. And I find at the point that their eyes, the entrepreneurial eyes are closed. They're either looking for a specific job. You know, they train as doctors, so they want to work in a hospital. They train as pharmacists, they train as engineers. For me, there's no problem, you know, seeking professional jobs. But if they are not there, what do? We just have to create jobs. And those jobs, yeah, I can also understand that the job you are creating at first may not yield optimum returns. It may not meet your qualification, PhD, and what have you. But the truth of the matter is that if a man is healthy, he should be able to put food on the table. That's the minimum. To put food on your table. And there are 1 million things you can do. And the truth of the matter is that if you do one sufficiently hard enough, you can do other things with that. And that's called the law of focus. You know, I spoke somewhere in Lagos and I spoke about the law of focus. It was a training I did. And one young boy went and started what he called Granola Republic. This Granola Republic, if you come to his shop, he has about 3 shops now. You have granules, fried, dried, baked, colored, flavored, boiled, all sorts of granules in different forms. And people are driving from around town to go to Granola Republic and buy granules. Just granules. Just granules. Now let me go back a little bit because this is critical in seeking opportunities. I spoke at University of Lagos and I spoke to a group of students and I was just trying to psych them up that when they leave, they shouldn't just be looking for who should employ them. They should think of creating employment. And I didn't know that there was a young boy that was in that group who was an indigent student. He hadn't paid his fees for 2 years. Even though he was moving from one class to the other, he didn't even have results. They hadn't released the result, but somehow he got to know that he passed, but he didn't have any indication. So when I spoke about problem solving and creating and filling a need, the guy got smart. What he did was he went to his friends and borrowed money from them and promised that he was going to pay back. And what he do with this money, he went and bought a wheelbarrow. I don't know whether you know what a wheelbarrow is. Yeah, and a shovel. Yes, cart. And a shovel. He had looked around his campus on St. Fimbas and Akuka, where you have University of Lagos, and found that there were women selling corn. You know, it was corn season. If you live in Lagos and some big towns, during corn, you see women by the side of the road, you know, they will boil corn and people stop to buy. So they had the husk of the fan of the corn, heaped the whole place, covered, stacked the place. So he drove his wheelbarrow to that place and began to cut all the waste there into his wheelbarrow. When he filled the wheelbarrow, he drove the wheelbarrow to the dump and dumped and left. The next day, he came back and also began to. So as he was cutting this, women now stopped him and said, "Excuse me, who sent you to do this work? Are you from local government?" He said, "No." "Are you from Loma? Are you a private person?" He said, "Yes." As a matter of fact, that he was a student in the University of Lagos, and that he was indigent student. He had problem. His parents couldn't pay his fees, and he's been struggling. But as somebody came to the school and spoke to them and said that wherever they found problem that they could solve, or a need they could fill, they should go ahead and fill that need or solve the problem, that money will come. The women opened their wrapper. And this one brought 50 naira. This one brought 100 naira. You know, in that giving, in that stand, they raised 3,000 naira for the boy. And they gave him the 3,000 naira and told him not to come every day. He should come once in 3 days, so that there'll be enough there for him to carry. So the guy established a group of customers there and moved to the next street. By the time he went around, he had about 10 groups of people he was servicing. And in 6 months from that date, he was able to pay all the arrears of fees he owed the school, then hired a room. Before he was hibernating, or how do you call it? Squatting with students. Now he had to hire his own room. The guy finished school, went to do his youth corps, and I was following up with him after I knew his story. And he established the same model. He got money and bought 2 tippers. Tipper. You know what tipper is? This is a truck. So, and what he was doing is he would follow the media and follow the social circles in Lagos. He read the newspapers, he look adverts where things are happening. Let's assume that this event, we're doing it now here. And maybe we're doing it outside. I know in Lagos they do all kinds of events outside, parties. Now, if you had this event on a Friday night, on Saturday morning, he will arrive with his tipper, and they will come, they will clean your compound, arrange the chairs, bring down the canopies, put everything together, clean the place, and the boys will jump into the tipper, and they will drive out of their compound or of the space. Now, they found that in 7 out of 10 places, as they are leaving, after cleaning the place, somebody will stop them and say, "Who asked you to do this?" And their answer was that we were looking for work to do, and we found work here, and we have done the work. And the tendency, the response would be, "Okay, how much do we pay you? How much do we pay you?" That is his business model. In a couple of places, people will take advantage, but all he was doing is, there something I can help? Is there a way I can solve a problem? And that's his model. And the boy is doing just well. So it works. It's validated that the moment that's your disposition, you will not lack. I mean, even in this church that we are now, if there's somebody who, just because he has nothing to do, looking for food, volunteers to start cleaning the church, volunteers to keep the compound clean, even without invitation, I am sure, Pastor, you are not going to say, "Be warm, let the Lord bless you." You are going to say, "This man doing this sort of thing, let's do something for him." That's the principle. So dedicate yourself to solving problems, and you have enough to do. But that's just as a way of introducing us to entrepreneurship. It's seek opportunity to create value, to solve a problem, to fill a need. The moment you are doing this, you have work. It's the only thing that can guarantee you work forever. As long as there are people who are willing, who have need, and you can feel it, they will pay. So that's step one to entrepreneurship. Step two is, of course, when you have that kind of mindset, there will be too many things you can do, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the problem is not deciding what to do. And that's why we say carefully select a business opportunity or idea. Because it's not possible to do all of them, at least not at the same time. And some of them may be sustainable, some may not be. Some may just be providing value or problems for a short while. So of all that myriads of things, you must select where you want to invest in. So that's the second step. Select where you have a flair, interest, talent, skill, knowledge, or experience. Observe good ideas that are poorly executed. Some people find the opportunities, but just don't know how to take advantage of them. With your special experience and knowledge, you may be able to improve on a failed idea. Many failed ideas did not fail because the ideas were bad. It could be conception and execution. And if you're able to, because the central theme always is, each time there is a question about business, the first question you ask is there a market? Which is, does anybody need this product or this item? That's the central thing. If there's a need, then you can then develop the product or the idea and get exchange. It's the exchange that is business. If you're giving people value, service, and they give you money, it's the exchange. So that's one way you can decide what to do. One is where you have a flair. It's important that you do something that you love to do. I mean, when there are circumstances of deprivation, you can manage anything. What is important is just survival. But we're not talking about sustainable business. It should be something that you love to do, something that you're happy to do. You know, it shouldn't be something you are enduring. That is not sustainable, because you can't every day be enduring and gripping and complaining. You can't enjoy that business. Move on. So we're looking at business opportunities. Where do you take, what kind of places, what kind of things are you going to develop? I say it's recognize pattern. The entrepreneur has an advantage if trends, patterns, and changes are dictated before others have noticed them. Think of any special insight you may have because of your age, your taste in fashion, food or entertainment, or because of special knowledge you may have acquired as a result of jobs you've had or hobbies you have enjoyed. These are opportunities, these are areas where you can discover what you want to invest in and begin to create a business out of it. Look at the small things. Many of the best opportunities lies in what has been overlooked. Perhaps a service could be improved upon by using a different type of platform, such as internet, or a product that is used for one purpose could have the channel changed slightly and used for another. Combine two or more things, thoughts together, two or more things or thoughts together. Somebody came up with the idea of combining a car wash and a bar. Somebody else thought of combining a coffee shop and bookstore. Opportunities can often arise when two things are brought together. You know, I mean, if people are doing their tires, vulcanizer, there can be other things that can attract them. So while their tires are being fixed, maybe they are doing another thing, so they are utilizing their time. So you're able to create additional opportunity where you combine two things and create a new stream of value. Look for new, generally unknown information. The best information is what is new or generally unknown. You might find widely scattered information on the internet, for example, and by assembling it in one place, you provide it for a fee. There are a lot of information scattered, but you can put those information together and sell them. You know, people come into town, how do they get to the best hotels? How do they get to get the best restaurants? You know, as people are entering into town, you can sell them that on the platform, or you can sell them through a bequeath or a kind of service that you are known for. What we're saying here is that there are many things that exist in disparate forms. But if you put them together and look for people who have need for them, or you advertise that you can't find solutions to those problems, then you might find people looking for you. Talk with people. When you talk with people, that is market research. That's the best way to identify needs and wants and problems. If you talk to people and find what they have to say, don't overlook talking to your own family about their own problems, needs or challenges, because that's what you're looking for. You know, companies pay huge sums of money in market research, in trying to identify customer needs and trends. And what do they do is to ask questions. And where we're here, I mean, we're a fairly good population. And if at the way out, we gave you a small slip of paper to answer one or two questions, it could be market research, which can inform the development of a product. Because the important thing I want to emphasize again is that there must be a market. For any idea to be productive and profitable, somebody must be willing to pay for it. And that's what we call market research or feasibility. Read journals, trade magazines, and online publications to keep on top of things and to gather new information that may give rise to an opportunity or idea. I mean, by the time you read and search, you will discover where there are gaps, supply gaps, or where people are not satisfied with what they are already using. Look for what has worked elsewhere. Perhaps you've traveled to a foreign country and seen a product or service that is not being offered where you live. You could research its applications in your country and perhaps introduce them as something new. I was somewhere yesterday with somebody called something smoothie. I entered there and they were doing fruits and vegetables, you know, and giving me to drink. I said, man, this is a good business idea. When I get to Nigeria, I'm going to search. Yeah, because everybody's thinking healthy food now. They don't want to drink Coke anymore. So I think that's an opportunity. Maybe somebody is doing it, I'm not yet aware. I'm going to go research. Yeah, but they will not be doing it everywhere. Okay? They will not be. So that's the way. There are a lot of things you will travel. When I'm traveling, I'm looking out for those things that can be new. And when I go on my research, and that's how we create businesses. Because at the least, you take a franchise. You know, and say, okay, teach us how you're doing. I represent you in Nigeria and whatever. So it is. Between states, even the United States, between this state and another state, or when you go to other parts of the world, there are things that people are doing which may not be available. So it's a business opportunity for you. Look for new ways to meet old needs and wants. There are existing needs and wants, but people are doing them the same way. You know, we are, what do you call it? Creatures of habits. There's a comfort zone. But usually that's where opportunity lies. Because if you present a different way, a little bit of excitement will have been brought in, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of ease can be brought to an old way of thinking. Look for ways to overcome barriers that blocked a good idea in the past. People tend to resist change, and some other entrepreneurs may have been unable to overcome the resistance to a good idea. Barriers disappear over time. Perhaps the service or business failed because of particular legislation, which may have since changed. I mean, I know in Nigeria, for a long time, for example, people have had difficulty in starting refineries, for example, because of the regulation. But the regulation will soon change. And those who are looking ahead are already beginning to talk about building refineries, because soon there will be food deregulation, and they can then price appropriately. It does happen. People couldn't do things because of legislation, but legislation changes, and others are not aware. Those who are aware take immediate advantage and create new businesses. Look for good ideas that can improve. Look at why people buy something rather than what they buy. Find out what motivates people, what prompts their buying decisions. Opportunities are often disguised as underlying needs and wants. Look for new uses for old products. Move on. Look for what's not working. If you can make it work, you may have found an opportunity. There's always something that is not working. You know, I mean, you go to certain towns and there's always a traffic grid, a traffic lock. You know, and some people, if it's in places where people accept solutions to their problems, you can make a proposal to cause a change. Either the traffic, some diversification of traffic, or a different way traffic can be managed. There are areas where you do whatever you do, waste will be a problem. Now, some people have been able to come out with new ways of managing waste, both solid and liquid waste, and that has created opportunity for them. In the areas where they do oil drilling and you have oil spillage, some people have come out with new ways of managing spills, and they are making money. They get big contracts and they're asked to take charge. It is, you have to come out, you have to look at where a problem exists and develop a solution and go and sell the solution to the people who have the need. Because sometimes they do not know that the solution has been invented or tried. Listen to complaints of unhappy and dissatisfied customers. They may point out needs and wants you could feel. That's the easiest way. If people are unhappy with a kind of equipment or machine or service, and you get to know, you offer them what makes them happy, and you have a business, you have their business. Also look for contented people. Here you find insight into what has worked and what might work better. Because there's always, they say the largest room is room for improvement. It's the largest room. I haven't seen anybody who has been completely satisfied over anything. I mean, the satisfaction level changes over days. Today you're very happy with it. Tomorrow you start wishing it was a little bit different. So there's always an opportunity to improve on a product. So stay alert, pay attention to people and the world around you, and you will notice what? Opportunities where? Everywhere. The opportunities are everywhere. It's a question of staying alert. The Bible says, keep your eyes open, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Just keeping your eyes open, you will be satisfied with bread. It's in Proverbs. We talk about trends, reflect just about any type of human behavior, look out for what is in the vogue and the direction of the market, identify problems and needs that are accompany these trends. Imagine spin-offs of these trends and of combining trends. For example, a trend to healthier living might be combined with a computer game focused on nutrition. You know, I'm talking about trends. Today, we're talking about healthy living, healthy diets. And if you understand that that's where the world is going, you start creating products around that trend. You know, that fad, that new thing that people are interested in. You move ahead, and if they are making nutritional food for adults, and nobody has thought about children, you better start thinking about children now and link it to the adults. So that when you buy for father and mother, you also have to buy for children. Move on. The only way to be sure that you have identified a solid opportunity is to research and evaluate it thoroughly. Use the questions to guide you through the process of researching and evaluating the opportunity you've identified. What we're saying here is that an idea can solve a problem doesn't mean it will make money. Okay? So you must research to be sure that first it is reproducible, and it's reproducible in a manner that is cost effective, and thirdly, that people are willing to pay. Because you can have a wonderful idea, but nobody will pay you. And people have produced certain products, and at the end they don't have a market. So it's critical that whatever idea you want to pursue, you must test the market. You must be sure that people are willing to pay for it. And therefore you have to determine a price that they're happy with, which will also affect your own cost of production. Okay, what need, one problem or challenge does your opportunity to address? Well, I thought we would have had opportunity to do some exercises, but we don't have opportunity. But what I'm saying is that if you follow what we've spoken about, there must be certain needs and wants or problems or challenges that if I asked you as a class to develop now, I'm sure you find time to develop. Maybe tomorrow, if we have time, we can look at it. Let's move on. I've said take time to understand the business, if possible, by studying or apprenticeship. I want to caution that nobody should jump into any business without taking time to evaluate it properly and understanding it properly. Don't enter into what you do not know. Don't do it because somebody else seems to be doing well, and therefore, let's join. You might be disappointed that it doesn't work that way. You must evaluate it. Okay? Move on. Talk to others in the business to learn all that is possible. Ensure it is something you will enjoy. What short list of possible areas of interest? Of course, there are too many areas people can have interest in the world today, in manufacturing and production. One of the things I find interesting in manufacturing and production today is that way back, if you thought about manufacturing and production, the first you thought about is building a factory, setting up your own plant. And that can be a discouragement, isn't it? It's a lot of money to set up any plant, build an industry. But today, things are a little bit different. You can be a manufacturer without owning a plant, without building a factory. So what you do is to take a space. Many factories have idle capacity. They have excess capacity where they can allow you use that capacity to produce for you and level it for you. So it is made for you and for your company by that industry. And you'll be classified as a manufacturer, a producer. Yes. You don't have to own a plant. The only thing is that your margins won't be as high as if you own the plant. But over time, you save enough money, you buy your own plant. Yeah, there are all kinds of things they are doing. In fact, one of the things people got an idea. I mean, there's a water plant we have in Lagos, and somebody came and said and understood that a water plant starts work like 9 in the morning, and by 5, 6 we've closed. So he made us an offer. We start work 9 to 5 and close. They will allow the equipment to rest for 2 hours. By 7 they come. He comes with his own staff, and they produce from 7 to 6 a.m. and they close. And my own staff comes at 9 and we start. So 2 of us are using one plant to produce 2 brands of a product, and we're not sharing the cost. I invested to build invested in capital acquisition, but he's now amortizing that investment for me by the charge that I take from him for. Those are the ways you can become a manufacturer without being distracted or discouraged by thinking of when you're going to build your plant and how you're going to get that money. So that's just what I want to say about that. Agriculture, crops, animal and fish farming, there are unending possibilities in this area. Information and communication technology, that is the ruling game of the time. If you cannot do hardware, you can do software. If you can't do software, you can do linkages. So you're either in hardware, in software, or you are connecting hardware with software. There are so many applications. People are doing apps and selling to companies, and they buy your app and integrate it into their own equipment, and you receive, the fastest millionaires today are made in this area. That's the fastest growing market today. Telecommunications, move on. Broadcasting, publishing, minerals, prospecting, oil and gas, solid minerals, oil services. This is one area, oil services, that I remember that a guy was worrying how he could do business in the oil sector. And I told him he could start from oil services. And in the experience we have in Nigeria, oil services start with supplying even the mundane commodities to oil companies when they are in their locations. Offshore, you can supply them even water. You supply them drugs, it's oil service. It's service to the oil companies. Then from there, you can go to start supplying equipment, chemicals, and what have you, if you go through the process. So if you can't go into oil prospecting, you can go into oil services. Move on. Power generation, including renewable energy. This is a big area, and a lot of people are in power today in their different forms. Property, real estate. I know there are people who are in this area. It's an area that many people are in, and interesting that you can be in these areas and still do your 5 to 8 o'clock work. Yeah, some of them you can do them online, you do them at free time, you do at weekends. Your marine business, they want to call the import-export stream. That's business people are doing. Supply chain, contracting. Let me just give an example of supply that works. As CEO of Pfizer or Nimet, I used to have people come to me and say, hey, Mazi, please, I want you to give me something to do. I say, like what? They say anything. And after discussing with me, I said, okay, I'm going to think of what I'm going to do. But usually after they've left me, I don't think of anything. Because I don't know anything called anything. I don't know. But I've had people come to me and say, Mazi, you are making TCP. You're making combat train. Now, I have found where I can get you this bottle. I know you use bottles in millions. I found this bottle for you, and this bottle that I'm ready to supply. I said, okay, let's see the sample of what you have. Now, if my current supply is giving me this bottle at 1 naira, and this guy says, I'll give you this bottle at 90 kobo or 80 kobo, I'm going to give him a 1 million order just to try whether he's serious. Now, if he comes and he's able to supply at 80 kobo, I'm saving how much? 20 kobo per bottle. And when you multiply that to millions of bottles, you know what I'm going to make. Yeah. And for manufacturers and people in industry, 10 kobo is a lot of money. Now, the guy who is supplying, assuming he is getting it at 60 kobo or 70 kobo, and he's getting 10 kobo from me, or 10 naira, and he multiplies it into millions, he is making what? Money. Now, when he leaves me, he goes to the next pharmaceutical company, he goes to the next one and say, I am a specialist in supplying what? Bottles. You don't have to supply, even if it's levels. Just try and build a competence in one item and make it big. And let every company know that you are a supplier of levels, your specialty. I mean, in those days, those of you who come from Nigeria, there's a town called Aba. One of the wealthiest people who had in Aba, do you know what he was selling? He was selling buttons. Buttons for shirts. That's all. The day the containers will be arriving, you think, you will never believe that what he has inside there are just buttons of different sizes and different colors. And the moment he lands, people from all over Nigeria will be there to break the bulk. And they'll take the buttons away. So he knew where to get the cheapest buttons in the world. So it's not like doing too many things. Just take one thing and be an expert. Be the best of what is possible. check the market, see where in the world that item can be gotten, and you begin to make a lot of money out of it. So there are other areas you can invest: catering, barbing, horticulture, landscaping, security services. They're just unending areas of investment that you can participate. Car wash, beauty therapy, publishing, talent exploitation, mundane to sophisticated. Let me speak about talent exploitation. This is where I think that God is so wonderful. God is so kind that even you can't do any of those things that I've spoken about since today. Either because you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, you cannot develop the market. There are many things that can be an impediment. But let me tell you something. Everybody here has a talent which he can turn into business. Do you agree with me? Yes. Everybody. I mean, because when I had my sister singing, it could be her new business. She can wax records. She can wax records. Print a very nice card, develop a small choir, and anywhere they're doing show in town, she's marketing herself. That's it. Appoint a manager. And tomorrow she'll be on television and cover newspaper coverage. Just by singing. Some people can draw, some can write, some can play, some can dance. Do you know that one of the things that pays money in Ghana is to cry, to be a crier, commercial crier? Yeah, but thank you. They have, if you see burial ceremonies in Ghana, especially if you come from the northern part of Ghana, every weekend, some important person has died. And they're going to be looking for people who can cry. So they get you there, feed you, take care of you, and the moment visitors come, you come and cry. After crying. No, I'm not joking, Okay. So what in Ghana Bantu? So what is it that talent you have? You can make money with it. What talent? If you can wrestle, you can become a wrestling champion. If you can box, you become what? A boxer. If you can play football, you become a footballer. If you can dance, you become a dancer. That is when everything else has failed. You can still do business out of the talent God has. Everybody has at least one talent. So why would anybody say, I am hungry, I can't feed my family? Why? Maybe you haven't identified your talent. You know what is developed in the world today? When we were growing up, there were people they used to call jesters. Yes. That's the name we used to call them. They were never taken seriously. But today they are called what? Stand up or sit down comedians. Okay? You know when you bring Ali Baba? Do you know how much he charges per show? 3 million. No, he's telling you Ali Baba 3 million for show. One show, he's going to One appearance. Well, the other younger people, basket mouth and all those people, 500,000 if they are kind to you. No one will take you 50,000. And that's what people earn. In fact, graduates in Nigeria earn 50,000 naira a month. Not be so. A full BSc, 50,000. Now, a stand-by or stand-up or sit-down comedian, just to make you laugh, collect 50,000 and eat your food and drink your wine. And yet you say you can't, there's nothing you can do. When am I supposed to stop? Now, so you better let me know because I have that. So that's what I call talent exploitation. And then mundane to sophisticated. If you check around you, there are a lot of things that are being done in some manner that you can put some feeling through, some sophistication. There are things people have done, some in the old ways. Just think of how you can add panache, clean it up, and then it becomes something new and something that people will be happy either to do or participate in. That's what I call mundane to sophisticated. Consulting, which we know what it is. Everybody here is a consultant. As long as you have had an experience in one thing or the other, you can consult. And consulting just gathering information and using it to solve somebody else's problem. Somebody tells you, my company is failing. That's the problem. Then you research from him and his people in his company, you know why they are failing. Because by the time you find it's either they're not producing the right product, they're not marketing adequately, they're not pricing well. You go and research. Did other people have that kind of problem? How did they solve it? You come and give it to the man, and he writes you a check. That's consulting. Capacity building, which is training and what have you. Let me conclude at this. Let's see where we're going next. Okay, so we stop in this step. We've done step 1 and step 2, which we spent energy because they are fundamental to develop the entrepreneurial paradigm, to always think of problem solving, need filling, value creation. You will always find work to do. And then, of course, we have looked at the different areas. We first talked about transitioning, how you want to move from paid employment and what you need to do to start a new business. Every one of us here can do business, if only even we adopted some of these principles that were spoken about this night. Thank you very much. Hallelujah.